Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio, the podcast that features hundreds of interviews with real people who, in many cases, I would say most cases, have no prior e-commerce experience, but they've built a business, a profitable business. We've got interviews with everyone from people who have built multi-million-dollar businesses that are fully automated and they just check the stats on their phone and love sharing what they've learned along the way, all the way to episodes of people who have just gotten going. They've got a busy schedule. They've tried to squeeze this into the cracks of their life, but they're gaining momentum and they've got something inspirational to share with us. We've got stories that run the whole gamut, from small wins to incredible eye-popping stories that catch your attention and truly motivate. Thank you for joining us for another great story. Today, we've got one of our students who joined us. His name is Tim. You'll meet him in a minute. He's busy. He's got a lot going on. He's a grandpa. He's married. He's got a full-time job. But in the cracks of his life, since about 2020, when COVID hit, he had to make some changes. He started jumping into Amazon. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows since then. He's had some ups and downs. He's made a few mistakes. He hasn't lost a lot of money, but he hasn't made a ton yet either. But he's figuring it out. And he does have a profitable business. He shares with us today that he's at about 16% net margin overall for the past year or so, which may not sound like much, but that's a profitable business. And he's figured out a system and he's growing and he's scaling and he's moving in the right direction. Oftentimes when I ask for feedback about our show, I've had people say, well, why do you only share stories of people who are wildly successful? Well, okay, I hear you. So let's talk to some people who are just early on in their journey. So when I put the word out and say, hey, I want to hear from some people who are just having those first few wins, just getting their legs under them, still figuring this thing out. We have some people raise their hand, and Tim was one of them. And hopefully you feel inspired and encouraged by this episode today. I will tell you this, I mentioned it later on in the episode as well, that if you haven't heard many episodes of our show, I think you'd be very wise to spend some time going back 20, 30, 50 episodes or so as you have time. If you're still kind of skeptical about the whole Amazon thing, and if this is something that you can do, what you're going to hear is very real people living very normal lifestyles, busy people with a lot of other things going on, in most cases with very little e-commerce background, who started stepping through the training that we provide, and they've begun to build a very beautiful business that can begin to create, as you'll hear Tim talk about today, the flexible lifestyle that allows him to spend more time with his aging parents and be available for family when they need him. He's literally heading to his grandson's baseball game as soon as this call was over. That was his plans for the evening. So he's able to enjoy the flexibility. That's his why. Family, flexibility, having those freedoms to be able to do the things that he wants to do on his own terms. That's what we want for you. We've been teaching e-commerce for well over 20 years at this point, Amazon for as long as anyone out there. And we've got so many great stories to share. And I think you're going to enjoy the one that we have for you today. I'm going to get him on the line right now. So, Tim, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, my friend.
It's good to be here, Jim.
Thanks for accepting the invitation. And we're thrilled to get into your story, man, if you're ready.
I'm sure. Anytime.
Yeah.
Well, I started probably like a lot of people in 2020 when COVID hit. It shut down my business, so I needed to do something different. It actually started with Shift. I don't know if you've heard of Shift, where I go into stores and buy things for other people and then deliver.
Right, like the grocery delivery. Yeah, I've seen
Yes,
this in Meyer,
right.
Kroger, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And my daughter was doing that, and so she got me into that to make a little extra income. And it was actually, because I'm not a shopper, it was very stressful, but it introduced me to getting into stores and seeing products. So what I did was I did that, and I was actually in a coaching program prior to it. It had just ended, and I ended up with more debt than money going into that. But so I was looking for something, and I listened to a lot of podcasts. So I don't remember how I came across Silent Sales Machine podcast, but I started listening to it, especially when I was shopping. And I probably listened to a lot of episodes for about a month. And then I got into the Facebook community. I already had an Amazon account that I had sold some college textbooks on.
Sure.
And And so,
How long
and
ago
I,
was this, Tim? Would you say?
2020.
Okay. We're
Well,
still
prior to
talking.
that, I don't remember when I had my Amazon account because it wasn't something that it was just a personal account.
Okay.
And so it wasn't something I sold on a lot. It was
It was
just
just kind of
mostly
sitting
books.
dormant.
Right.
Okay. So
And,
this is prior to 2020. You had played
right,
around with Amazon a little bit, sold a few things, but now you're doing ship. You
right.
got this gig.
Yeah.
You start listening to the podcast. All right. I got you.
Right. And I did have an eBay account as well. And that was just trying to get rid of stuff. So
Yeah.
I wasn't going out to yard sales.
Right.
So,
So pretty limited experience really in e-commerce at that point.
right. I will say though, because I got my master's degree when I was 50 and,
Good for
but
you.
what it was in instructional design, but part of that was I was put into this global community where we would do stuff online. And it always amazed me that people from around the world could talk to one another. And
Yeah.
that opened my eyes to the possibility of especially when I found Amazon and what you could do with Amazon.
We're part of that last generation that really got a full glimpse of what the world looked like before we could globally connect using the internet.
Right. Right.
And then the possibilities on the other side of it. Like my kids, that's all they've ever known. Like you don't understand. Like the
Right.
mind-blowing moment when you realized, wait, I could sit down on my computer and have an international business later today.
Right.
That was a
Right.
mind-blowing thought up until the mid 90s or so, right? Like no one ever heard of such a thing. And then and now it's just the reality that we all enjoy. And I find myself sometimes wanting to shake people on the shoulders. Like you realize like everything has changed. The opportunities are just so abundant and amazing now, this tool of connection and relationships that we didn't have it in grade school, right? Like I don't know about you, but computers for me were introduced when I was like a sophomore. And it was like the,
Right.
typewriter with a black and white screen, learn how to
Yeah.
program in BASIC. Like,
I think I was in college and my dad had like a Commodore 64. So.
right. I had one of those too. I actually got the old magazine that goes with the Commodores. I won some programming contests. I was a full out nerd. Man.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I came from that world, but I still to this day just have this amazing appreciation because I got to see the world before. And not that everything internet is a blessing all the time. Obviously, that's not the case. But as a tool for business and connection, it's just changed the game in ways I don't think we've even started to realize yet. Yeah. So it sounds like you had an appreciation for that as well.
Oh yeah. And so when I started in Amazon, and that was like June of 2020, I had been listening to your podcast. I had joined the Facebook community. And so the first, let's see, July, August, I just had a personal account. And then I jumped in September with a professional account. And what I had found, I think it was Ryan Rieger had the pyramid, where you just find stuff around the house and sell it on eBay. And so I was getting some capital that way to get started.
Right. Yeah. And I love the pyramid. Actually, I was just working on it yesterday for a presentation. We've updated it many times, but basically the bottom level, it's a multi-leveled pyramid as you climb up. And the bottom level is the lowest risk, lowest hanging fruit. You're going to run into a lot of competition, but you're not going to take a lot of risks either. Learn your way in. And that's retail arbitrage, scanning barcodes,
right.
Looking at clearance aisles, that sort of thing.
Yeah. That was probably the first year of just scanning barcodes, finding clearance items. And then when I was introduced to replens, of course the light went on. It's like, whoa, I don't have to find all the clearance items anymore. So
right.
I don't even look at them anymore. I'm more interested in products that I can sell every month.
Yeah. Go source anytime you need them. Yeah.
Right.
We'll retail and flip them at a better price. Right. Love it. All right. We'll keep it going.
All right. So I did that. When I got replens, I was able to get a little bit more traction. And September of 2022, I hit 11K. And of course, I was really excited about that. Yes, in 1 month. But wasn't real excited when Amazon told me I had to get liability insurance.
Right.
Because I never hit it after that, but I still had to pay for the insurance.
Because you went over that magic, and is it 10,000?
Right.
and they
right.
send you that little notice. Yeah, but it's not that expensive. I mean, what are you paying?
No, it's not 52.50, I think is what I pay a month. So no, it's not expensive.
It's
But
not.
I wanted to
Oh,
justify the cost by having 10K a month though.
yes, right.
But I got stuck. I guess I don't know if I was in a rut. I could only get between 5 and 7,000 a month. And so June of 2023, yeah, I started coaching. And because I talked to the coaching office and it was like, there's something I'm not getting. And so I went into the coaching and I started with Travis. I think he's local to you. And
Yeah, he
so
is. We attend the same church. I think he goes to the
right.
earlier service and I do a lot of weeks, but yeah.
And he helped me pretty well. I still wasn't quite getting to where I wanted. So he referred me to Brian and Robin. And really what helped me with them was the 3-step check that they do.
Mm.
And so basically anytime I find products, it's always through that lens. And I have roughly 100 products, but I was actually up to about 160 at one time. I did a group VA, like I don't know how many of us were group VA. So I was able to really add a lot of products. But what I found is after about a month, there was just tons of people on the same listing.
Yeah, that comes from anytime you've got a shared list, shared source, shared VA, that sort of thing, that you're kind of asking for that. Everyone hopping on the same thing at the same time is never ideal, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think hindsight, I would have been better off if I would have used the list to help source like products, but I didn't know any better at the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I started with Brian and Robin, I think it was December of last year. And so this year has been January, I was at 5,800, February 79, March was 91. And then last month I hit 11.3.
Nice. See your best month ever last month?
Yes.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah. So now it's a matter of getting consistent with the 10K per month and obviously the lifeblood of the business are the ASINs. So
yeah, continue to find great ASINs. That's right. So how are you finding them now? Like, what's your favorite strategy?
the best way I find them is just the products that I already have, just finding offshoots of those.
Mm-hmm.
I use Keepa to see how there's drops per month and how many sellers and so forth. But I want to eventually get into more OA because I'm probably about 95% RA with replens and in grocery. And so I've got a lot of expiration dates that I have to deal with.
Right.
And so I would like to transition more away from that. And part of that challenge is, just finding different, not just grocery, but, household and tools and different things that will add to that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to worry about the expiration date issue for sure.
Right.
And I see a lot of sellers get into grocery and do really well. Some stay there, but a lot of times, like you're describing, they start to kind of outgrow the inconvenience of the great margins and the easy low-hanging fruit of grocery. They're like, it's about a constant pursuit of smoother systems and greater while maintaining greater margins, right? And automating it. And yeah, grocery is beautiful. I would argue that there's more great replens in grocery than any other category, probably. But it's because a lot of people just don't want to mess with the expiration date issue. And you got to make sure that your expiration dates are far enough out into the future that Amazon will still accept it. And if it sits there for too long, okay, well, the product's now useless.
Right.
You can't get any value out of it. Whereas, you're selling a screwdriver, doesn't sell well, you bring it back, sell it on eBay. Not so with food, obviously. So yeah, that's it sounds like you're looking to expand a little into some of the other categories as well.
Right. I had Matt Hassler as my reactive coach. He actually has taken a break, but what was able to do, because his wife's a traveling nurse, he was able, he would move to wherever she was, but he could still run his business, no matter where it was, because he does all OA.
Yeah.
So
because you can source online, and was he using a prep center then, or?
He was or is. So
Yeah, still
like
is.
he's taking a break now. So I've I think I met with Wendy. I don't remember her last name, but mostly because I have a Walmart account and I want to reactivate it. I was selling pretty well on it and it got shut down because of some shipping problems. And it kind of deflated my bubble to
Mhm.
keep going. So I just focus more on Amazon.
Yeah.
But like you talk about these piles of, I don't know, stuff that comes back from Amazon that I couldn't sell.
Yeah. Sometimes
So,
people call it the death pile.
right,
I think, I prefer calling it the money pile, keep a good spin
right.
on it. But yeah, your returns, like, what are you going to do with them? Right.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's where it's good. A lot of the way we're discovering some of our best Walmart selling products is stuff we get back from Amazon. Like, okay, well, let's try eBay, let's try Walmart. If you send it in and like, wow, that sold really well. Let's go get
Hmm.
some more of that. That's a lot of the way good leaders and successful Walmart sellers in our community are getting into Walmart is just kind of experimentation. But we are dialing in some really cool stuff right now too, as well, that will help you be more methodical and mechanical
Hmm.
and diving into like, okay, with my current catalog on Amazon, what makes the most sense to move over to Walmart? And so we're getting a little more methodical with that right now. Some of the new content we've got coming on that topic, but
Right.
yeah, very good. Well,
Okay.
keep your story going, man. What else can you tell us?
Well, I guess while I was doing all this during COVID, the pack course was like 29 a month. So I did that. And I wasn't necessarily doing the just-in-time learning. I was just doing everything.
Right.
I was going through all the courses. So, and I ended up when you guys decided that you were going to go up to like 39 a month, I was able to purchase the lifetime for like $500 before the cost
Smart.
jumped up. So I have that that I use and can go back to, and I've used that for like the Keepa training, the new Keepa trainings that are in there.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much in Keepa that I still don't understand.
Yeah, there's always more to learn. I'm learning new things constantly with it as well. They're always adding new features. We're actually in conversations right now with them about another feature that I think would be very helpful. We're trying to get them to add it in some data they could crunch easily for us and save us all a lot of time on one of the strategies that we use around here. But yeah, that is the must-have tool for sure. If there's a listener who doesn't know what Keepa is, go listen to episode 369. I reference it all the time. We dive into what it is and why it's such a different tool for Amazon sellers. Hey, we'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I've got to thank today's sponsor, Forward Financial. It's been said that the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender, right? That's scriptural. Well, if you're in debt, how would you like to be debt free? Today, we're offering some services from Forward Financial completely free to you because for over 30 years, they've been helping people get debt free. Secure your investments, build wealth. They provide a premium written plan at no cost to their clients that, if followed, will put you on the path with a date on the calendar, 5 to 7 years or so typically, where you'll be debt free. Your plan includes protecting your retirement money from drops in the stock market, guarding against inflation, building your wealth, and setting your end of life goals. For more information, you need to visit silentjimdotcom/freedom. That's silentjim.com/freedom. Talk to Forward Financial. Thank you guys for a great sponsorship of today's program. Let's get back to the discussion. That is the must-have tool for sure. If there's a listener who doesn't know what Keepa is, go listen to episode 369. I reference it all the time. We dive into what it is and why it's such a different tool for Amazon sellers. Yeah, so always more to learn. Absolutely. And have you talked about or thought about branded bundles at all yet?
I started the course. I bought the course and started it. I haven't finished it. It got to be so overwhelming of the information in there.
Yeah. There's a
So
reason
it's
we've got that
something I
higher
want
up
to
on the
get back
pyramid.
to it.
It's a little more
Right.
complicated, right? It means a little more
Right.
complexity, a little more risk, a little more time needed and patience and skill set required than versus say, just typical replens. And I'm not pushing you in that direction. Just you mentioned you
Right.
had the proven Amazon course. That's one of the modules that's now in there. It sounds like you bought it early and paid a little extra, but it's in
I
there at no
did.
cost now. But it's a great module, and we're getting really excited about some of the things we're seeing there from people who are going down that road. But it does take a little time for sure. You got to get
Right.
brand registered, trademark, all that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Very worth pursuing.
Now I do have a question for you about
Yeah,
creating listings.
sure.
And the only reason I ask that is because I've had some really good listings that have dropped off because they've changed the packaging from like a 50 to a 40,
Mhm.
and they were selling really well. And I don't know why the brand changed the packaging.
Mhm.
But I was just wondering is how involved it is to, and if it's even worth trying to make a listing.
Yeah, let me make sure that we don't lose anyone on this question and just gonna fill them in. If there's a listener here who's like, I
Right.
don't know, changing a listing, setting up a listing. So on Amazon, if you're new, the general rule of thumb is as a seller, if you're new, never set up new listings. Just don't do it. It's just too many things can go wrong. I don't have enough time to go through the full list of all the things that go wrong. You don't know all the questions to ask. You should not be setting up new listings for your own products, for other people's products, for brands you found, for products that aren't on Amazon yet. No, 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 no. Just don't do it. Now, what you will find from time to time, and you kind of alluded to this just now, Tim, with your question is, okay, well, what if I've got a 40-ounce product that's selling great and suddenly it's only available as a 50 ounce and the 40 ounce is gone? Can I change the listing? Short answer, no, you cannot. You'll hear it from time to time, people who do successfully get changes like that made after a lot of persistence and opening a case and pushing back and forth and all.
Right.
But nah, just I put that in the same category as setting up new listings. Just don't do it. There's too many great ASINs out there that you can just sell against. That's where you need to focus until you're ready to move on to maybe wholesale or branded bundle
Hmm.
strategies. And when you start introducing your own brand, your brand registered, you've got your own unique product, you've done it the right way, you're creating bundles with other recognized brands along with your product. Now you start setting up new listings and you're doing it the right way. And that's your listing. If something needs to change, you can work with Amazon and change it.
Okay.
But for the most part, unfortunately, bad news, no. Now you will from time to time just be cruising along on an ASIN and you'll see it will change on its own. Like, wait, what happened? This used to be a 12 pack. Now it's a 6 pack.
Oh yeah.
What happened? Somehow, some way, who knows? I don't know. Those changes can and occasionally do happen. And you just have to stop selling on that ASIN or adjust the product you're sending in against it.
Hmm.
It's, I'm not saying the catalog never changes. I'm saying I don't advise you being the one that changes it because once you change it, you kind of own it. Once you set it up, you kind of own it. And the penalty for those people is much more severe if there's a problem with that ASIN or that listing than it is for the people who just happen to sell against it. Right. So that's my long answer to your relatively
Right.
simple question. But everything, I want to cover the nuances, right? I want to be thorough.
Right.
Does that help you out?
It does. Yeah.
Good.
It
Good.
just, there's, like you said, there's plenty of ASINs out there to sell them. So.
Absolutely. For me, it's like it's as soon as someone says, "Well, I found this ASIN, but here's some challenges I have," and I'm like, "Stop, throw it in the trash can, move on," because the good ones, you're not going to have those. Like, well, it says 12 ounces, but I'm going to send them the 13, so no one's going to complain, right? Like, yeah, they will. It needs to match, right? Like it's got this one little word that nope, stay away. The brand says generic dash, whatever. Like, nope, stay away. The brand field has to be exact. That's why in our training, we train for the replens is like, here's all the
Mhm.
check boxes you got to check. And if you can't check all these relatively rapid order, like rapid fashion, like, yep, 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 yep. Okay, I'm going to test against it. If you can't check those boxes, move on.
Mm.
So many. There's a billion ASINs out there, and a lot of them are test worthy. So yeah, just move on. Find more ASINs. As the Olsons always say, what solves that? Go find more ASINs. Yeah.
Uh,
Throw it to the curb.
um,
Go find more.
yeah, I guess with everything I've been doing over the last 4 years, I guess when you talk about the turtle and the hare, I'm definitely the turtle because I admire those people who have done it fast, but I've not been able to do that.
Yeah. Well, you've got
But
another job as well. You've got a
right,
lot of other things going on. And you were sharing with me before we hit record your busy schedule. So, you can only put in the time you can put in.
right, right. And part of my why for this is I've been teaching for 25 years and I eventually do want to retire from that. But my wife would keep asking me, well, what are you going to do? I could never answer it until now. So now I know.
E-commerce. Yeah. Sell
Right.
online. That's right. And it opens up so
Right.
many doors. I'm as excited as I've ever been about the doors that begin to open once you understand the basics of
Hmm.
e-commerce. Just the people on our team, the leaders, the great students in our community who they're about where you are skill wise with the replens system. Maybe they've never had a $30,000 month. They had a $20,000 month, but that started opening up doors of relationships,
Hmm.
connections, opportunities, consulting, that sort of thing, like teaching others. You know how to turn $1 into $2 now. You'd like to be doing it at a bigger scale than you are, but you understand the basics of the game. So you're equipped now to do all kinds of cool stuff from here. Continue scaling what you're doing is certainly one option. Like we talked about, branded bundles, wholesale, find other brands that want to be on Amazon that aren't yet, or they don't like the way that they're represented there, begin to help them to
Hmm.
navigate the platform. That's the PPP module inside the Proven
Right.
Amazon course. You have access to that,
Yeah.
especially you being a teacher and having, I'm assuming, you're comfortable communicating ideas and concepts. Teachers, that's what we do, right? That's what we teach.
Right.
So that might be a really interesting model for you to explore. And some of these brands, they're everywhere. They're just everywhere that are struggling with Amazon. Strike up a relationship. Now you've got multiple income streams. You've got multiple
Hmm.
Amazon accounts you're getting paid for. And it's just not a complicated business model. It simply isn't. So yeah, just some ideas, brainstorming with you a little bit, maybe encouraging the listeners. But what else is on your mind? I know we had limited time. Which was my fault
Right.
today because I was running
Um,
late on you today for full disclosure. But what else is on your mind? Let's make good use of the time to encourage others or ask me some
well,
questions.
I do need to give a shout out to my wife. She doesn't do a lot with Amazon, and she just kind of lets me do what I want to do. But a few months ago, she started helping me at least pack.
Oh,
And I
that's
tell you what, it has cut my time in half.
oh,
And even those evenings that I don't feel like doing it, she kind of pushes me. So
that's great. And just the synergy, 1+1 = 5 when you're doing this work. And if you can get
right,
someone else helping you out, it's like suddenly it doesn't cut the time in half when your spouse joins you. It, knocks it down 70%.
right. Yeah,
It's
we've also had to work on our communication too.
so healthy, right? Have you heard me say it, Tim? I think what we've done over the last 20 years, and as I look over my shoulder, is we've been saving marriages, man. We're teaching people how to communicate, budget, handle the numbers better, find financial freedom, tackle challenges as a couple. That's a lot of what we do here. We see it. So I love hearing that. That's phenomenal. So in what way? Give me a specific if you don't mind. Like kind of communication. What do you mean by that? When you say communication has
Right.
improved between you and your wife, what are you talking about?
Well, in the listings, like if you have three different items that are the same brand, but just a little bit different. So just being able to communicate which one we're talking about. And so that's probably been the biggest thing, but just talking while we're doing stuff and just
Yeah.
that time together.
Tackling a project together that requires communication and some precision, pay attention to detail. So
Right. Detail.
cooperation that
Yes.
goes into that. Yeah. Like I remember
Right.
some of those tests of our young marriage with my wife, Andrea, and I, and like, hey, let's put this cool full wall mural on our son's wall. There's a big space shuttle mural. We're like, yeah, that'll be a great Saturday. Well, it really tested us, okay, getting it lined up. And like, I discovered that she wasn't as worried about the wing flaps lining up on the crease as I was. Like I was making a big deal. She's like, come on, buddy,
Right.
move on. Let's get this done. Like just the things you learn about each other, tackling a new
Mhm.
project like that. And ultimately it was a great experience. We got to know each other better. It was a challenge, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I love it. But yeah, what other observations about the business or any questions for me or what else is on your mind?
I guess just for me, with having my other business, it was always, even on vacation, I could never relax. So one of my goals with Amazon is to be able to get it more automated so that my parents are elderly, and so they, like right now they're in Michigan. They go up there during the summer and then in South Carolina in the wintertime. So but they are elderly, and I would love to be able to have the freedom to be able to just do stuff with them as they're getting older and may need help. So,
Yeah, you have some more time flexibility, schedule flexibility. Yeah, absolutely. And we've certainly seen that happen for a lot of people. Yeah. And you're well on your way. That's the business you're building. I'm just realizing we talked about some of your numbers, but we didn't talk about your net margin. So I want to make sure and do
Oh,
that. If someone's going to ask. So like you just
right.
mentioned, you had an 11,000 plus month here not too long ago, last month. What was your net margin on that, if you happen to know?
Let's see. My ROI hasn't been great in April. Yeah, because even though I was at 11, my ROI was only 10%. So the margin was 4.5%.
Gotcha.
So
ROI.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. And part of that because I've had products that weren't selling, and then I've had to kind of dump them. I guess isn't quite the right word. Some I broke even on. Some I've had a loss. But like I said, I was up to about 160 ASINs at one time, and so I've been the last 6 months I've been doing a lot of clean out, trying to get down to some core ASINs that are
I
actually
got you.
doing
So that
something.
big month was a lot of clean out, it sounds like.
Well, not so much. I mean, there was some, but I did have some products that sold really well last month. So,
Gotcha. Combination of winners and clearing out some of the old losers. The
right.
path forward certainly is. The people who are doing well have a system for finding great ASINs on a regular basis, adding to their catalog, building their catalog constantly, then managing that catalog well. Meaning, if an ASIN's winning, you go find more. If it's not, you taper away, revisit it later, and building a real system around that is what will get you to the kind of numbers that we see from a lot of our students. 20% net margin plus,
Hmm.
multiple 5-figure months is just kind of a normal thing, heading up to, Kang is the ultimate example, $3 million business and
Right.
great margins, completely automated. But it does, he and anyone else who's succeeding at any level, they have a system for constantly finding and testing new ASINs for the replens model specifically, right? Then you can get into
Right.
some of the other models as well, obviously, but for replens, that's the secret. Always be finding new ASINs, testing new ASINs. And yeah, it sounds like you're going to start drifting out of grocery a little bit too. I agree. Good strategy. I
Right.
love starting there. We still do a fair amount of grocery ourselves. It used to be maybe 70, 80% of our business. Now it's maybe 5%, just
Mm.
not much because again, the expiration dates can be just painful to have to deal with.
Yeah.
But good margins there for sure.
Right. Yeah. Over the last year, I have seller board. I think it's seller board, and I think over the last year, I've averaged like 16%. So obviously, I want that to be much
Yeah.
higher. But
Well, yeah, that's not bad at all, right?
it,
16%. Yeah.
yeah.
Net margins. There's a lot of businesses out there that kill for that. So yeah, that's very, very much worth doing. And especially when you consider you're turning your money over multiple times throughout the year, it's a beautiful side gig that could turn into something very, very special if it gets the time and attention that you need to give it to do so. Well, I know you've got limited time today, Tim. I loved hanging out with you. I'm not trying to cut you off, but I didn't want to
Right.
drag it out. If you got places to get, I know you got your son's baseball game or your grandkid's baseball game to get to.
Mhm.
And but anything else on your mind before we start to wrap this one up?
It just keep at it. don't don't give up. So that's one thing I actually learned through having my own other business is that I know because I would deal a lot with other schools and trying to get my program in there, and so they would a no is only a no for right now. So
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that 2 months or 2 years from now that I'm not going to get a yes. So
Yeah,
it's just perseverance and,
absolutely.
and don't give up.
Yeah, mindset matters. I've made that observation about this community, with thousands of students. We've been doing this 20 years. We've helped a lot
Mhm.
of people succeed. Of course, we see a lot of people, as with any business, that don't succeed. So I've had the opportunity to see, what separates those two groups of people. And the thing I always put at the top is people who intentionally seek out relationships. People like you got a coach, you have conversations with those people, you've built relationships, you interact. You're not just trying to do it isolated on an island by yourself. That's the number one. Form a mastermind, attend live events, get to know people who are doing it well and bounce off of it. That's one. Two is mindset, like you just mentioned, having that having that worldview where you realize how the world actually works, which is nothing worth having comes easy. Everything worth having requires risk, time, blood,
Mhm.
sweat, tears, sacrifice, right? Like the things that are hard to someone and bring forth out of yourself. Like that's what's required. in order to have the things that you want in life. So realizing that as early on in the game is very beneficial. Sounds like you've done that, and you're going to get there.
Yeah.
I have no doubt you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And
One thing I also did, because I don't know if I've done it for 3 years, 4 years, is every morning I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. I know you've talked about that before, about being grateful. So it makes it easier through the day when something bad happens to find the good in it. So,
yes, absolutely. Highly recommend that. And, we're not the first ones to come up with that, obviously, but the whole idea of living life through the lens of gratitude, it just makes it so much easier for you to be optimistic, which means you can be more creative, which means you can be in problem solving mode versus feeling sorry for yourself mode and blaming others mode and scarcity mode, right? It's like it's a decision you make when you choose whether you're going to be grateful or not. And people can see it all over you from 1,000 miles away too. They know which kind of person they're dealing with pretty quick. And you don't want to be repelling others by being constantly scarcity minded, blame others minded. The world is bad. That vibe repels people, and you're going to need people in your life to do well. So why not attract them? That's just one of the benefits of gratitude, but it's very practical. It's not just, well, I don't want to feel terrible all day, so I better be gratitude. Like there's some serious ripple effects to what you just said. Like it plays out in the real world. The relationship with your spouse is affected by these things. The way your kids see you is affected by these things in a larger way than I think many of us realize. Yeah, so glad you mentioned that, Tim. Thank you. Well, anything else on your mind before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's it for today.
Yeah, you did a great job, man. And I appreciate it. And again, sorry for rescheduling on you. Great hearing your story. And we love bringing all kinds of different stories to this show. And every time I learned something new. It's great to get to know the people in this community. And I'm sure there's others out here today going like, okay, I can relate to that guy. Okay, I like that guy. He's a straight shooter, man. I think I can get to that level. And they feel motivated now to get going. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing the conference this year. I hope to someday soon, and to actually meet you in person. So.
Oh, it'd be great to meet you as well. It'd be an honor. Yeah, next we should be announcing the 2025 dates soon, believe it or not. Okay. 2024 hasn't even happened yet, but as we're recording this, but we should be announcing those dates soon. I'd say keep an eye on, early June-ish, 2025, something like that. We'll have more details very soon for you. But yeah, we'd love to see you in person. Well, all right, Tim, thanks for hanging out today. Let me talk to the listeners who joined us today for just a moment and just say, hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for giving us some of your most valuable asset, your time. We really appreciate that. Hopefully you feel encouraged and inspired. And I just got to let you know this, if you want to hear hundreds of interviews that we've done with students at all levels of their success, everything from people just getting started, feeling their way, to people who have built, like I shared earlier, multi-million-dollar businesses using the strategies we teach in the Proven Amazon course. Hey, it's all at silentjimdotcom. Jump over there to our podcast. We got over 800 episodes. The vast majority of them are interviews with our students, and you can go through and enjoy those. But on behalf of the team that put this whole thing together and our excellent guest today, Tim, you did a tremendous job. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll see you next time. God bless all the business building warriors. Thanks for joining us.